From the Gulf States newsroom, this is the Gulf States Gumbo, your weekly serving of stories from Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. I'm economic mobility reporter Stephan Bisaha, chopping it up this week. On today's show, a look at immigration arrests in Louisiana, from a new detention center opening up inside a notorious prison.
Angola prison is legendary, but that's a message that these individuals that are going to be here that are illegal criminals need to understand.
To how traffic arrests are taking on a new role in immigration enforcement.
He ended up spending months inside an immigration detention center, all because he didn't have a driver's license.
A new immigration detention center is opening in Louisiana. The twist? It's in a wing of the Angola prison. Here to explain why that's important and different is Alex Cox, a Report for America Corps member from our partner station, WRKF. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so you were recently at Angola, I believe just last week, to hear from Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. They were all at this site. What exactly is this facility?
Yeah, so Louisiana State Penitentiary, which is better known as Angola, is, most of the headlines call it the notorious Angola prison. And so the land was originally a plantation, and it has this history of violence, which is kind of what earns it the notorious reputation. And, this was an intentional choice to house this facility in there. I asked Secretary Noem if the choice of a facility with such a history was intentional to try to get people to self-deport. And here's what she said.
So absolutely. This is a facility that's notorious. It's a facility. Angola prison is legendary, but that's a message that these individuals that are going to be here that are illegal criminals need to understand.
The specific wing of Angola that was turned into this detention facility, which is now called Louisiana Lockup or Camp 57, was known as Camp J. And Governor Landry declared a state of emergency to renovate this specific part. And I think it's important to emphasize it's in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. There's woods for miles around the prison. Cell reception goes in and out on the drive there. Governor Landry kind of emphasized this at the press release, and he really put it bluntly.
Angola is the largest maximum security prison in the country, with 18,000 acres, bordered by the Mississippi River, swamps filled with alligators, and forests filled with bears. Nobody really wants to leave the place.
And when Secretary Noem and other members of the Trump administration are talking about who's going to be in, the Louisiana lockup, who are we talking about?
So the phrase they use specifically is the worst of the worst. And mostly when they say this, they kind of present it as it should be self-evident. In terms of what I've been able to kind of find to give a specific list of what they consider the worst of the worst, we have a list of everyone who is currently in the prison from DHS. And the crimes that they have committed are usually the kind of thing like murder or sexual abuse of various different kinds. They also released a list to Fox News to give an example of what kind of criminals they wanted before they released this other list. And then taking those crimes into account, that adds drugs and firearm charges. So it's all different types of crimes kind of falling under the branding the worst of the worst.
Alex Cox is a Report for America Corps member from our partner station, WRKF. We'll hear more from Alex in a bit, but first, we're going to take a second to move from where immigrants are being sent to just how they're getting arrested. Reports from across the country show traffic arrests are playing a part. For some, everyday roadside encounters are leading to immigration detention. So we got three reporters to talk about this. Bobby Jean Missick is with Verite News, and Kat Stromquist is our criminal justice reporter. They both wanted to find out if these traffic stops turned immigration detentions were happening in Kenner, Louisiana, which has a large Hispanic population. They discussed their findings with our public health reporter, Drew Hawkins.
So, Bobby, let's start with you. You two investigated the connection between traffic arrests and immigration enforcement in Kenner. Can you tell me a little bit about this place and why y'all were interested in it?
Sure. So, Kenner is a suburb of New Orleans. It's where the New Orleans airport is, and it's also an area with a large Hispanic population. About 30% of its residents are Hispanic, and the largest group is people from Honduras. And although the Hispanic population, makes up part of the fabric of this community that's very diverse, we were hearing from immigrants' rights advocates that Kenner Police was sort of a pipeline for immigrant motorists to end up in immigration detention and maybe even end up deported. So if you're undocumented, then you can't obtain a driver's license in Louisiana. And driving without a license is a misdemeanor in the state. Kenner Police Department has a policy to arrest anyone found to be driving without a license during a traffic stop or a crash. And we were interested in what happens after they get booked in the jail that puts some people in federal immigration custody. And here's what happens. Once U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE, learns that someone is in a local jail, then they can issue a request to the law enforcement agency that's holding that person. And those requests are called immigration detainers, and they can ask agencies to either notify ICE when someone they think is deportable is going to be released, or they can also ask the agencies to keep holding that person beyond when they should be released so that ICE agents can take them into federal custody.
And you ended up talking to someone that their experience really ties all of these issues together, right? What was his story?
Well, so this was a story of a young man who had escaped a dangerous situation in Honduras. And he'd only recently arrived in the United States. And one morning he was arrested while he was driving to his aunt's house to take her to church. He was taken to Kenner's jail, and he ended up spending months inside an immigration detention center in northern Louisiana, all because he didn't have a driver's license.
Wow. And Kat, I'm curious how you two tried to figure out if this was happening to more people.
Well, so we started pulling public records. We ended up looking at documents, arrest records from the Kenner Police Department over the course of 5 months that showed us what people were getting arrested for. But we were also able to see which of those people were getting rebooked on those immigration detainers that Bobby was just talking about. So we were able to sort of follow the chain of events from original arrest to detainer. We ended up identifying at least 75 people who were arrested just for traffic offenses after like a stop or a crash, who were rebooked on detainers at the behest of immigration authorities. And many of those people were also arrested for driving without a license and often other traffic offenses as well. Later, we looked at a different data set that showed us many of those folks ultimately were booked into immigration detention.
And what did the Kenner Police Department say when you brought this up?
Yeah, so we were able to interview Police Chief Keith Conley, actually more than once between the two of us. And we brought up that detainer requests had gone up a lot based on data we reviewed. He said he wasn't surprised to see detainer requests going up because of the president's and also Governor Jeff Landry's focus on immigration and law and order, respectively. Now, when we raised the issue of traffic arrests with him, he said traffic enforcement is a priority in Kenner. It turns out the practice of arresting people for driving without a license is a long-standing one in this jurisdiction. I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but Conley framed the traffic enforcement as important. Like, he used the example of, what if someone got in an accident with someone with no license and insurance, and that person would then never get made whole after the crash? He says, basically, it's his job to enforce the laws. And if someone is arrested based on allegedly violating a law, and immigration agents send over a detainer request saying they want to take a closer look at that person, he's going to honor it.
Okay. Bobby, what did some of the experts you talked to say about this?
So we spoke with Michelle Waslin from the Immigration History Research Center at the University of Minnesota. And she's studied the link between driver's license policy and immigration enforcement. And so, Kat was talking about the scenario that Conley presented about someone not being made whole after being in an accident with someone with no license and insurance. And she basically said that states that want everyone on the road to be safer will enact policies that allow every driver to be licensed and insured so that scenario doesn't happen. And she said in her research there was a clear connection between immigration detention and deportation and states that block undocumented immigrants from obtaining driver's licenses.
And, that young man that you talked to, the one from Honduras, how's he doing now?
We decided not to disclose his location because, he's fearful of his own personal safety, but he's not in immigration detention any longer. And he's doing okay. He said that when he was detained, he started having, headaches almost daily, and he started feeling really paranoid, I think, afraid of the danger that he had escaped in Honduras. So now he says he tries not to think about that time of, being held in jail in Kenner or being detained in Louisiana.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That was Bobby Jean Mizik of Verite News and Kat Stromquist of the Gulf States Newsroom. You can read their full story on veritenews.org or wwno.org. Thank you both for talking with me.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
This is the Gulf States Gumbo, and as promised, back with me is Alex Cox. And Alex, a lot is happening on this beat right now.
Yeah, certainly. There's too much to talk about.
Yeah, and I know you have just come to the South, right? So kind of get thrown right into things.
Yeah, I'm a Midwesterner. I am not used to this heat, nor am I particularly liking it.
Well, I'll say we're going to let up now that we're September, but that would be lying to you. But, we do like to end this show with something we call Gulf States Gems, where we shine a light on some of the good stuff in our region. And Alex, I know you've only been here for a short time, but have you found any gems so far?
Yeah, the one thing that I really, really have to emphasize is that, oh my gosh, are there so many good grocery stores here? Back home, I really only had the option of like Walmart, Aldi, and Hy-Vee. And now when I put grocery store into like Google Maps, there are so many both local and like chains that I've never heard of. And it's honestly just really nice.
And you're in Baton Rouge, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yeah, so what's a great find you found at one of these stores?
Oh boy. Honestly, and this is kind of a little embarrassing to say, but like the spice aisle is so much better.
That's a big thing here.
My cooking has never tasted better because I just have access to all of these different spices, and oh boy, is it just oh my god, spicy Tonys. Like the actual extra spicy, like I have Tonys back home, but I didn't have like the extra spice. That has changed my life.
Alex, thank you for coming on and welcome to the South. And yeah, we appreciate your reporting.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much.
This week's show is cooked up by the Gulf States Newsroom team. Our theme music is by DJ Supreme. Special thanks to our partner stations, WBHM, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, WWNO, and WRKF. You can find us in your podcast feeds every Friday. Look us up and be sure to subscribe. Again, I'm your host, Stephan Bisaha. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to stir your root.